The week Chloe stopped speaking to me was the same week she learned how to keep me alive. That was the part I could never explain without sounding like I had made it up. The person who seemed most determined to stay on the other side of every closed door became the one who sat on a freezing Boston sidewalk, with her hand hovering inches from mine, asking permission before touching me, while smoke poured from our third-floor windows. 4 days earlier, I had walked into her bedroom without knocking. Not because I meant to. Not because I thought I had some right to her space. I heard water hitting the floor, knew our upstairs neighbor had flooded the ceiling once before, and thought Chloe was at work. She was not. I opened the door, saw her halfway through changing after a shower, and froze. She froze too. Then I backed into the hallway so fast I hit my shoulder on the frame. God, Chloe, I'm sorry. Ava, I thought you were downtown. Ava. I heard water. Close the door. Right. I closed it. Then, because I was apparently committed to dying from humiliation, I opened it 2 inches again. The window is leaking. I know. I shut it so hard the warped frame bounced. Sorry. There was silence. Then Chloe said, very evenly, "Please stop opening the door. I wanted the building to collapse. That would have been less embarrassing." At the time, I thought the accident had ruined our already fragile roommate situation. I was wrong. The accident only touched the bruise. What came after made me understand how long Chloe had been living, as if every locked door could be taken from her, every boundary could be negotiated, and every kindness might arrive with a hidden price. It also made me understand something worse. By the time she finally asked me, "Do you want to start over with dinner?" I already cared about her far more than I had admitted. I just didn't know yet that caring for someone and being safe for them were two completely different things. Our apartment was an aging third-floor walk-up near the university district. All exposed brick, uneven floors, and plumbing that complained louder than either of us did. I was 28, a copy editor finishing a graduate thesis at night. Chloe was 26 and worked as an image archivist downtown. She had moved in 3 months earlier. The first thing I noticed was that she knocked even when a door stood open. She kept her shoes lined up by the entrance and never left a cabinet ajar. I talked when I was nervous. Chloe got quieter. I mistook her reserve for dislike. She mistook my questions for pressure. A month after she moved in, I came home late and found her sitting on the hallway floor outside her bedroom. Her back was against the wall. Her knees were drawn up. Her face had gone pale. "You okay?" I asked. "Fine." It was not a convincing answer. I set my bag down. "Do you need water? No. Food? No. Do you want me to call somebody?" Ava. Sorry. I crouched a few feet away. She was breathing too quickly. I knew enough about panic to recognize the shape of it, although I did not yet know why I recognized it so quickly. "You don't have to hide from me because we're roommates," I said softly. The effect was immediate. Chloe's expression hardened. "I'm not hiding. I didn't mean—" I said I'm fine. "Okay. I just need a minute." I stood. "Of course." Then, because apparently I could not leave a difficult moment without adding unnecessary syllables, I said, "Take all the minutes." She looked at me. I looked at the ceiling. "Great," I said. "I'm going to stop making this worse." I went to my room. After that, Chloe became formal. Not hostile. Formal. Her groceries acquired labels. Laundry became a scheduling matter. If I sat at the kitchen table, she often took her coffee to her room. If we crossed paths in the hall, she smiled with the strained politeness of a customer returning damaged merchandise. I reacted badly, not outwardly. Outwardly, I became considerate. Internally, I decided she disliked me, so I gave her space. Then more space. then enough space that we were essentially two foreign governments sharing a kitchen. And because Chloe was private, she never explained why she had pulled back. Because I was proud, I never asked. By the time the rainy March afternoon came, our Cold War had been going on for weeks. The rain started before sunrise and got worse all day. Around 3, I heard a wet slap from the hallway. Then another. I followed the sound and saw water creeping from beneath Chloe's bedroom door. I knew the building. Water in that building never arrived alone. It arrived with plaster damage, mold threats, passive-aggressive emails, and Mr. Kaplan explaining that old structures breathe. I called Chloe's name. No answer. I knew she usually worked until 6. The door wasn't latched, so I pushed it open. Everything after that happened in less than 10 seconds. Chloe. Wet hair. A sweater halfway over her head. My own brain shutting down. The spreading leak beneath the window. Her face going completely still. Then the hallway. The apology. The second accidental opening. The sentence that would haunt me. Please stop opening the door. By the time the maintenance guy arrived, Chloe was dressed and standing by the window with a towel under the leak. She did not look at me. I did not look directly at her. The maintenance guy looked between us and made the excellent decision to discuss only caulk. That night, I heard Chloe's lock turn. The next morning, she was gone before I woke. For 4 days, our apartment became a choreography of avoidance. The Cold War continued, but underneath it, something strange started happening. We began taking care of each other, quietly, almost anonymously. The first thing was an umbrella. I owned a cheap black umbrella with one bent rib and the structural integrity of cooked pasta. One morning, after the weather app predicted another storm, I found a dark green umbrella leaning against my shoes. A sticky note was wrapped around the handle. Yours is a public safety concern. No signature. I took it to work. That evening, Chloe came home and found a new box of ginger tea on her refrigerator shelf. She drank it when she got migraines. I had noticed. No note. The next day, my radiator stopped heating. I returned from brushing my teeth to find the small living room space heater outside my bedroom door. At noon, Mr. Kaplan emailed to say Chloe had submitted a maintenance request. I did not thank her. She did not mention it. 2 days later, I replaced the batteries in the smoke detector outside her room because it had started chirping. The next morning, oat milk appeared on my shelf, even though Chloe drank regular milk. I tightened the loose towel rack. She left half a container of dumplings in the refrigerator with a note that said, "Bought too many." Chloe measured dry pasta before boiling it. She had never bought too many of anything in her life. Those were the first 3 signs: the umbrella, the heater, the dumplings. 3 small contradictions to everything I thought our silence meant. I noticed them. I did not know what to do with them. On the 4th evening, Chloe stopped me by the front door. I had just come upstairs carrying groceries when she stepped into the hall. I stopped so quickly that an orange rolled out of my bag. It crossed the floor between us and came to rest against the baseboard. Neither of us moved to pick it up. "Hi," I said. "Hi." The orange sat there like an impartial witness. Chloe folded her arms. "Are you busy tonight?" I looked behind myself. "Me? You're the only other person here. Historically, that has not prevented me from misunderstanding a situation." Her mouth twitched. "It was the first crack in the ice. I was thinking we could get dinner." I stared. "Together?" "Yes." "On purpose?" "Ava. Sorry." She inhaled slowly, then said, "I don't want to keep doing this." My stomach dropped. "Oh, I'm not moving out. The relief was so immediate I hated that she could probably see it. I mean, the avoiding, the weird kitchen schedule, communicating through oat milk. That was very good oat milk. She almost smiled again. Then her expression became serious. What happened was uncomfortable. I know. I know you didn't mean to walk in? I nodded. And I also know I haven't made this easier. You don't owe me easy. She went still. For a moment, her face lost its guarded look. Then she glanced toward my grocery bag. The orange was still on the floor. There's a place in Back Bay, she said. Small, Italian, cloth napkins. What? I need to estimate the emotional honesty level. She laughed. Not politely. Actually laughed. It was quick and surprised, like the sound had escaped before she could stop it. I felt something inside me shift. She bent down, picked up the orange, and handed it over. 7? 7. Then, before she walked away, she raised one hand and knocked 3 times against the wall beside my shoulder. Knock, knock, knock. See, she said, it's not hard. I'm learning. Slowly. At 7, we met at a small Italian place in Back Bay, squeezed between brick walls and fogged windows. We spent 10 careful minutes discussing work and our landlord before Chloe finally turned her water glass between both hands. I overreacted, she said. No. You reacted. She looked at me for a long moment. It wasn't only what happened. I waited. She rubbed her thumb along the side of the glass. I've had people ignore closed doors before. The sentence changed the room. Not because it told me everything, because it told me enough. I resisted the urge to ask, who? Instead I said, I'm sorry. For what? That somebody taught you a closed door might not be enough. Chloe stopped moving. For 1 second I thought I had gone too far. Then she looked towards the window. My ex used to say privacy was something people wanted when they had something to hide. I felt cold despite the crowded restaurant. That's controlling. Yes. She said it without drama, almost clinically. We were together 2 years. At first it was little things. Reading a message because it lit up on the table. Asking why I needed to close the bathroom door. Checking my location if I was late. She paused. I told myself she was anxious. What happened when you asked her to stop? Chloe smiled without humor. She asked why I was suddenly keeping secrets. I understood the hallway now. You don't have to hide from me. My own words came back with a different shape. That thing I said, I whispered. Chloe gave a small, embarrassed laugh. I thought you hated me. I thought you hated me. We stared at each other. So we're adults who solved this by becoming less communicative. Apparently. Some of the tightness left her shoulders. Then she said, There's more. I waited. This time she noticed that I waited. My ex would stand outside closed doors and keep talking until I answered. Chloe's voice softened. If I said I needed an hour alone, she would knock every 5 minutes, not hard. Just enough that I never stopped thinking about her being there. Her gaze dropped to the table. Eventually, I started feeling guilty before I even asked for space. I thought about the way Chloe had stared at me after I said, "Take all the minutes." I had meant well, but intention did not erase impact. I'm glad you told me, I said. She looked up. I wanted to say, I'm not like her. The sentence rose automatically. I swallowed it. Chloe watched my face. Then, unexpectedly, she said, Thank you. For what? For not telling me you're different? I blinked. I almost did. I know. My face, extremely expressive. Devastating. People who are different usually don't need to announce it. I nodded. That makes sense. Dinner lasted 2 hours. We talked about everything except romance. That was our second beginning, and it stayed imperfect. Chloe still closed her door. I still knocked 3 times. Sometimes she said, "Come in." Sometimes she said, "Not now." The first time she said "not now," and I actually walked away. She opened the door 10 minutes later. "You don't have to disappear," she said. "I thought you wanted space. I wanted 10 minutes, not witness protection." After that, we learned the difference. She learned I rewrote emails whenever I feared someone was angry. I learned she called her father every Sunday, carried peppermint oil for migraines, and noticed everything. Intimacy entered our apartment quietly, fact by fact, like light beneath a door. There were other small proofs. When I came down with a fever, soup appeared outside my door. When Chloe had a migraine, she once asked me to sit quietly at the dark kitchen table until the pain eased. And on the morning of my thesis review, she noticed I was late, undercharged, and wearing 2 different shoes. I ran back to change. When I returned, my laptop charger was in my bag, my coffee was in a travel mug, and the revised chapter I had forgotten to print was sitting on the counter. "You printed this? You were going to forget it. How did you know? You wrote 'print chapter' on a sticky note yesterday. You read my sticky note?" Chloe froze. The old tension flashed across her face. For 1 second, the kitchen filled with ghosts. Privacy, permission, doors. Then I looked at the refrigerator. The sticky note was still there in enormous black letters. I picked up the pages. It was facing the room. Yes, it was roughly the size of a distress signal. "Yes, you saved my meeting. Probably not your career. My morning, then." That was the day I finally admitted the dangerous part to myself. I was attracted to my roommate, not vaguely. I wanted to make Chloe laugh, wanted to be the person she called when something went wrong, wanted to know what she looked like when she was completely relaxed. I responded with great maturity by reorganizing my sock drawer for 40 minutes and telling her nothing. Then the building caught fire. It happened at 1:17 in the morning. Later, the electrician said old wiring behind the kitchen wall had overheated. At the time, all Chloe knew was that she smelled smoke. She woke, opened her door, and saw a gray layer gathering near the ceiling. The kitchen wall was already hot. She pulled the alarm. Then she ran to my room. I was asleep wearing noise-canceling headphones because the upstairs neighbors had discovered furniture rearrangement as a midnight hobby. Chloe knocked 3 times, then harder. No answer. Smoke thickened in the hallway. She tried the handle. Locked. Later, she told me she stood there for 1 second. 1 second thinking about doors, permission, everything we had built. Then she kicked beside the latch. The frame split. I woke up screaming. Chloe came through smoke. Ava. Fire. What? Shoes? Coat. Now. The room smelled like burning plastic. I tore off the headphones. My brain refused to catch up. Chloe grabbed my coat from the chair but did not put it on me. "Ava." I stared. "Can I touch you?" I nodded. Only then did she put one hand on my upper arm. That question saved me before anything else did, not physically, something deeper. Even with smoke in the hall, even after breaking through my door, Chloe still remembered that urgency did not erase choice. "Where's your inhaler?" "Desk." She knew which drawer. She found it. Put it in my hand. "Use it now." I did. We started down the stairs. Halfway to the second floor, my chest tightened. Smoke, cold, panic. All three. I had asthma attacks as a child, bad enough that my mother used to sleep sitting beside my bed during winters when bronchitis passed through school. I had spent years pretending I was not afraid of that sensation anymore. I was. Outside, neighbors crowded the sidewalk in pajamas and coats. Sirens moved toward us. Someone was crying. The building's windows reflected orange light. I bent forward, coughing. My lungs refused to expand properly. Chloe crouched in front of me. "Ava." I shook my head. "I can't. You can breathe out. I can't breathe. Don't chase the inhale." "Breathe out." Her voice was steady, not falsely calm. Focused. "Can I hold your hand?" I nodded. She took it, not squeezing. "Just there. Stay with me." The paramedics arrived. Chloe told them I had asthma. She handed over the inhaler. When one asked about medication allergies, she said, "Penicillin." I looked at her through the oxygen mask. "How do you know? You told the pharmacy on speaker last month." Of course she remembered. At the emergency room, they said my lungs were irritated, but I had avoided serious smoke inhalation. The fire had been contained mostly inside the kitchen wall and part of the hall. We were lucky. That word felt obscene at 4 a.m. Chloe stayed. She found clean socks because mine were wet from the sidewalk. She argued with a vending machine until it surrendered crackers. She called the temporary hotel arranged by the landlord. She wrote down the nurse's instructions because I was too tired to process them. When I woke near 6, Chloe was asleep in a plastic chair beside the bed. Her winter coat had been folded over my legs. Her own arms were bare. I stared at her. Then the truth arrived. I was in love with her, not because she had saved me. That would have been simpler. I loved the woman who had replaced my terrible umbrella without taking credit. The woman who remembered my medication allergy. The woman who could say no without cruelty and yes without performing warmth she did not feel. The woman who had kicked down my door and still asked before touching me. Love did not feel like fireworks. It felt like recognition. And it terrified me. The hotel gave us separate rooms, but Chloe spent most of the first day helping with insurance forms, smoke-damaged laundry, replacement medication, and the university paperwork for my water-soaked laptop. That evening she came back carrying takeout from our Back Bay restaurant. I looked at the bag. Is this symbolic? No, you're lying. Yes, we ate cross-legged on the hotel floor. Halfway through dinner I said, "You broke my door. I'll pay for it." That wasn't a complaint. Chloe put down her fork. I watched her expression shift. "You came in without permission," I said. "There was a fire." "I know." She looked away. I realized she had been thinking about it too. "I hesitated," she said, for 1 second. "That could have mattered. But you came in." "I had to." "Yes." Her jaw tightened. "What are you trying to say?" I looked at the plastic container in my lap. "I think I've been treating boundaries like walls." Chloe waited. "And maybe they're not." "What are they?" "Doors." She gave me a tired look. "That is painfully on the nose. I'm recovering from smoke inhalation. My metaphors are fragile." Her mouth twitched. I continued. "A door can be closed because someone hates you, or because they're changing, or sleeping, or overwhelmed. Closed doesn't automatically mean rejection." "No." "And sometimes," I said, "there is literally a fire." That got a laugh. Small, real. Then the laugh vanished. Chloe stared at her food. My ex took my bedroom door off its hinges once. The sentence landed so quietly that for a second I thought I had misheard. "What?" "We were living together." Her voice flattened. I locked the door after an argument. I told her I needed the night alone. Chloe rubbed one thumb against the side of her index finger. She got a screwdriver from the utility drawer and removed the hinges. I felt sick. She said couples shouldn't lock each other out. Chloe. I slept at a friend's place. Good, I went back. Shame entered her voice. For almost a year, I put my food aside. You don't have to be ashamed of that. She laughed once without humor. I know that intellectually. Then borrow my opinion until yours catches up. She looked at me. Something in her face softened. Then she continued. She never hit me. That was how I kept minimizing it. Every time I got scared, I compared what she did to the worst possible thing and told myself it wasn't that. Her eyes stayed on the floor. She read messages, checked my location, came to my job when I stopped replying. If I wanted a night alone, she called it punishment. I understood then that the accident had collided with a wound I could not see. It also forced me to look at my own pattern. When someone went quiet, I panicked, over-explained, and tried to repair the feeling before I had earned the conversation. Pain could explain behavior without excusing it. I said, "I'm sorry." She frowned. For what? For trying to make you listen to my intentions after you told me you didn't want to talk. You were panicking. That explains it. I looked at her. It doesn't make it your job to absorb. Chloe's eyes shone. I thought the important thing was proving I wasn't dangerous, I said. But the important thing was that you didn't feel safe. A long silence. Then she whispered, "Thank you. Not forgiveness, not absolution. Just thank you." It was enough. We moved back into the apartment 12 days later. The kitchen had new drywall. The hall smelled like fresh paint. My bedroom frame had been replaced. Chloe's warped door had also been replaced, but only after I fought Mr. Kaplan about it. He wanted to sand the old one. I sent photographs of the water damage, the failed latch, the fire report, and a politely murderous email explaining that a bedroom door should reliably perform the radical function of closing. He agreed to replace the door, but refused to pay for a better lock. I paid the difference. I did not tell Chloe. She found the receipt in the maintenance folder. That evening, 3 knocks sounded on my frame. Knock, knock, knock. I looked up from my laptop. Chloe stood in the doorway. "You paid for my lock." "The landlord should have. That is not an answer." I closed the computer. "No." "Why?" For once, I did not hide behind a joke. "Because you should be able to close your door and know it stays closed." Her expression shifted. "Ava, there's no expectation attached." "I know. No emotional invoice. I know. And I'm not secretly trying to prove—" "Ava." I stopped. Chloe leaned against the frame. "Thank you. You're welcome." She stayed there. I waited. Finally, she said, "Dinner? Are we starting over again?" "No." Something in her expression made my pulse jump. "I think we're past the beginning. That night, while we chopped vegetables, Chloe told me about Chicago. I got the fellowship. I turned immediately. The museum one? Yes, that's amazing." Then I understood. "Chicago? Yes. How long?" 4 months. When? 3 weeks. The knife in my hand stopped against the cutting board. 3 weeks. I faced the peppers again. That's great. It is. It really is. Ava. I mean it. You're angry. I'm not angry. Hurt? I chopped too hard. You're murdering a vegetable. I set the knife down. What do you want me to say? The truth. Dangerous request. So I gave her part of it. I wish you'd told me you were waiting to hear. I applied before dinner. What about after? I didn't know what we were becoming. Neither did I. But suddenly I knew what I wanted. That was worse. You should go, I said. Chloe frowned. I know, no, I mean you should absolutely go. It's your field. Ava, I'm not asking you to stay, I know. Good. You keep saying things I already know, because I'm trying not to say the things you don't. Silence. The line appeared beneath our feet, 1 sentence away. Chloe set down the wooden spoon. What things? I laughed softly. Don't ask me that if you already know. Her face lost color. Maybe she hadn't known. Or maybe suspicion was not the same as hearing it. I stepped away from the counter. I have feelings for you. Chloe did not move. More than roommate feelings. Still nothing. And I know the timing is awful. Ava. I'm not finished. Her mouth closed. I'm not telling you because I expect anything. I'm telling you because pretending this is only friendship has started to feel dishonest. I looked at her. You matter to me in a way I didn't plan. Her eyes dropped. I think about you when you're not here. I know you had a bad day by the way you put your keys down. I know you hate the end pieces of bread even though you pretend you don't care. I know you rubbed the back of your neck twice before a migraine. My voice shook. And when the fire happened, I was terrified. But what I remember most is your voice asking before you touched me. Chloe looked toward the dark kitchen window. So yes, I said. I care about you. A long silence. Then Chloe whispered, I care about you too. My heart stopped. Then she continued, but I can't do this. It restarted badly. I nodded once. Okay. Ava. No, that's okay. It isn't because you don't have to justify a boundary. That stopped her. Pain moved across her face. This one I want to explain. I waited. The last month has been intense. Yes, the accident, dinner, the fire, the hotel. I know. I don't trust myself to know how much of what I'm feeling is us, and how much is the fact that you became safe in the middle of a crisis. I swallowed. That's fair. I'm leaving in 3 weeks. You're still dealing with the apartment. I'm still learning the difference between closeness and losing myself. She folded her arms around her body. If I say yes because I'm scared, leaving will make me lose you, then I'm making the decision from fear. It hurt. It also made complete sense. Maturity was cruel that way. I understand. And if you ask me to stay, I won't. I know. No, Chloe. I waited until she looked at me. I want you here. My throat tightened. But I want you to choose your life more. Her face crumpled for half a second before she controlled it. I hate that you said that. Why? Because it makes this harder. Sorry. Stop apologizing for existing. Working on it. That earned the smallest smile. Then she said, until I leave, I need us to stay roommates. Roommates and friends. Friends. She studied me. Can you actually do that? I thought about it honestly, not what I wanted, what I could promise. Yes. 3 days later, Chloe came home to find packing tape, flattened boxes, and a black marker outside her room. You're helping me leave? She asked. I'm helping you pack. For the next 3 weeks, I proved that answer in unromantic ways. I labeled boxes, fixed her suitcase wheel, documented smoke-damaged items, called the airline when her flight changed, and never brought up my confession again. When she closed her door, I knocked 3 times and waited. Sometimes she invited me in, sometimes she didn't. Respecting her freedom to leave hurt. I did it anyway. The night before Chloe left, we went to the Back Bay restaurant again. Same brick walls, same warmth, different table. The original one was occupied by a couple arguing about a dog. I was strangely relieved. Halfway through dinner, Chloe said, "You really aren't going to ask me to stay?" "No." "Why? Because you decided to go before you knew how I felt. I like the version of you who chose this for herself." She looked down. "I wish you had walked into my room 6 months later. I wish I had never walked in at all." "No." She traced the edge of her napkin. "I hated it. But it forced me to decide whether I was reacting to you or to someone from my past. You never owed me a quick answer." "I know." Then she looked at me. "You didn't fix what happened." "No. You couldn't. But you changed what happened after." That sentence stayed with me. The next morning I drove her to Logan. We did not kiss. That would have been easier. Outside security, Chloe looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, "Can I hug you?" "Yes." Her arms went around me. Mine went around her. I closed my eyes. She smelled like shampoo, airport coffee, and cold air. "4 months," I said. "4 months. You're going to be great. You don't know that. I watched you bully a vending machine into giving you crackers." She laughed against my shoulder, then stepped back. Her eyes were wet. "Don't make your life small while I'm gone. You either." She turned, walked 5 steps, stopped, turned around, then lifted 3 fingers. 1, 2, 3. "Our knock." I laughed. She smiled. Then she left. The first weeks without Chloe were painfully ordinary. Her refrigerator shelf stayed empty, and I kept looking up when footsteps stopped outside the apartment. I finished my thesis, and more importantly, restarted therapy. Dr. Patel helped me name the pattern I had shown Chloe. When someone withdrew, I searched for the rule I had broken, then either over-explained or went silent first. Understanding it did not excuse it. It gave me something concrete to change. I started practicing small things, sending an email without rereading it 6 times, asking a friend directly whether she was upset instead of analyzing punctuation, saying, "I'm anxious, and I know this may not be about me." Not glamorous. Real. Chloe and I texted. Not constantly. That mattered. She sent pictures from Chicago, snow against museum windows, a storage room full of rolled maps, a terrible grilled cheese sandwich with the caption, "Your influence." I sent photographs of our repaired kitchen, the green umbrella drying in the bathtub. A screenshot of my thesis marked, "Approved." She called immediately. I knew it. "You absolutely did not. I printed that chapter. You participated. I demand co-authorship." Rejected. Then dinner when I get back. The words hung there. Not a promise. Not nothing. A few weeks later, our Sunday video call went quiet in a different way. "I miss you," Chloe said. "I miss you too." "I don't mean roommate, miss. I figured." She looked down. I thought distance would tell me whether what I felt was just the fire, or the apartment, or being afraid. And it didn't go away. My chest tightened. I wanted to say, "Then come home." Instead, I asked, "What do you want to do with that?" Chloe looked at me. "I don't know." "Then we don't decide tonight." Her eyebrows rose. "You're not going to push?" "No. That's deeply annoying. I've become extremely evolved." Another month passed. Then Chloe called on a Tuesday instead of Sunday. Her face appeared tense. "What happened?" "I got offered an extension. My stomach dropped. How long?" 8 months. That's significant." "Yes." "Do you want it?" "I don't know." I waited. "I have an opinion," I said. "I want you back. I'm just trying not to turn that into your instruction manual." Chloe's expression softened. I took a breath. Chloe closed her eyes. The truth hurt to say. But I don't want you back because you're afraid I'll disappear if you stay. Her eyes opened. I won't disappear. You don't know that. Yes, I do. How? Because I get to decide whether I disappear. I went still. Chloe leaned closer to the screen. I spent years thinking attachment meant being trapped. Her voice was steady. Then I spent months thinking independence meant not needing anyone. I listened. They aren't opposites. No, I can leave and care about someone. Yes. I can come back and still belong to myself. Yes. She inhaled. I turned down the extension. My chest tightened. Because of me? No. The answer came fast. Firm. Relief flooded through me. I turned it down because the work is wrong for me long term. I want community archives, not commercial acquisition. She smiled faintly. I applied for 2 jobs in Boston and 1 in Providence 3 weeks ago. You already applied? Yes. Before telling me? Yes. I laughed. What? That is incredibly attractive. Chloe blinked, then burst out laughing. I covered my face. I'm sorry. Do not apologize. That was historic. I'm hanging up. You absolutely are not. 2 weeks later, she accepted a position with a small historical foundation in Cambridge. She chose it because the work was right. Not because I was nearby. That mattered more than I could explain. She came back on a windy Saturday afternoon. I met her at South Station. For 4 months, I had seen Chloe flattened into a screen. Then suddenly she was there. Real height, real coat, real hands. She spotted me across the station. Stopped, smiled. I forgot everything I had planned to say. We walked toward each other, stopped 2 feet apart. Hi, I said. Hi, good trip? Terrible, excellent. I hate buses, I know. We stared. People moved around us. An announcement echoed overhead. Then Chloe said, "Can I kiss you?" For months I had imagined that question. In every version I answered instantly. Real life was better. I let myself feel the weight of it. Not rescue, not repayment, not proof, choice. Yes, I said. Chloe kissed me. Softly, briefly. A woman dragging a suitcase nearly hit us. Chloe jumped back, laughing. Romance? Boston romance? We did not become girlfriends that afternoon. That surprised both of us. We went to dinner. Same Back Bay restaurant. Different table again. Over pasta, Chloe said. I want to try. So do I. Slowly. Yes. I'm not moving back into the apartment. I paused. Okay, you look disappointed. I am. That's allowed. I know. I found a studio in Somerville. That's good. I need my own space, I know. And you need to find out whether you like dating me when I'm not conveniently 12 feet away. That seems unnecessarily scientific. Museum training. I smiled. Then nodded. Okay. Chloe reached across the table. Stopped before touching my hand. Raised her eyebrows. I turned my palm over. She took it. We can start there, she said. So we did. Dating Chloe was quieter than almost dating her. We bought groceries, argued about documentaries, and learned that being careful did not mean never upsetting each other. Our first real fight came after she canceled plans 3 nights in a row because work had overwhelmed her. I heard abandonment. She heard accusation. When she grabbed her coat, I started to follow, then stopped. I'm angry, I said, forcing the truth out before silence could do the talking for me. But you can leave. She looked back. I need 20 minutes. Okay. She returned half an hour later with 2 coffees. We talked without pretending our old wounds were the other person's fault. After that, when work swallowed her, she texted, I'm overloaded, not pulling away. I learned to answer, "Understood. Talk tomorrow." 6 months later, my lease ended. We chose not to move in together yet. Instead, I rented a one-bedroom 10 minutes from Chloe's studio, and she helped me pack. On the final day, we stood outside her old bedroom in the apartment where everything had begun. The room was empty, but the replacement lock still shone on the door. "Do you regret it?" she asked. "The fire?" "Absolutely. The rest?" I looked at her. "No." She touched the frame. "I regret the accident. I don't regret telling you why it hurt. Neither do I. And I definitely don't regret dinner." Then she raised her hand and knocked 3 times against the empty door. Knock. 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 The sound echoed through the bare room. I laughed softly. What? I was thinking about how terrified I used to be of that sound. Knocking? Waiting. I understood. A knock meant someone was outside. A pause meant they were allowing you to decide. "Ready?" I asked. Chloe nodded. We left the keys on the kitchen counter. My new apartment was not beautiful. The floors sloped. The kitchen was the size of a generous closet. The radiator made suspicious clicking noises, but the bedroom door latched. The bathroom lock worked, and the kitchen window opened. Progress. 3 months later, on an ordinary Thursday night in October, I was making soup when someone knocked on my front door. 3 times. Knock. 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 I knew exactly who it was. I opened the door. Chloe stood there holding a grocery bag. "You have a key," I said. "I know." "Then why are you knocking?" She shrugged. Felt like it. I stepped aside. She stayed where she was. What? Her eyebrows rose. "You have to say it." I understood. Months ago, I would have joked. Instead, I looked at the woman who had once needed a closed door to mean safety. The woman who had crossed one when my life depended on it. The woman who had left because she needed to know she could. The woman who had returned because she discovered returning could also be chosen. "Come in," I said. Chloe entered. She kissed my cheek as she passed. "What did you buy?" "Bread. End pieces included?" "I'm giving those to you. You're evil. Boundaries." "Right." She unpacked groceries while I stirred soup. Later we ate on the couch because I still had not bought a proper dining table. Her feet tucked beneath my leg. A documentary about 19th century sanitation played quietly on the television. Halfway through, Chloe said, "This is your fault. You chose the documentary. I chose culture. A program called Sewage That Built America is culture? It's infrastructure." I laughed. She leaned against me. Nothing exploded. She still knocked. Not because she had to. Because she could enter and still choose not to assume. I thought about the first door, the one I had opened without asking, the mistake I once wished I could erase. I no longer wanted to erase it, not because it had been harmless, but because healing was not rewriting the past. It was refusing to repeat it. Chloe shifted against me. "Are you watching this?" she murmured. "Absolutely." "What did they just say?" "I have no idea." She smiled without opening her eyes. Outside, Boston traffic moved through the cold. The radiator clicked, and someone upstairs dropped something heavy and swore. Our life was ordinary, imperfect, and finally safe enough to be ordinary. I used to think intimacy meant eliminating the distance between 2 people. Chloe taught me something better. The distance matters. The door matters. The person on the other side matters. Love is not always proving you would break down every door to reach someone. Sometimes love is knowing which doors are theirs to keep, knowing when to knock, knowing how long to wait, and trusting that when they are ready, they can open the door themselves. That night, as the soup cooled on the coffee table and a terrible documentary narrated the history of urban waste, Chloe woke just enough to reach for my hand. Her fingers paused over mine. Even half asleep, she waited. I turned my palm up. She laced our fingers together. No fireworks, no grand ending, just permission, just choice, just us. And somehow, after everything, that felt bigger than any door we had ever opened.